I'm speaking today on behalf of a research team led by an excellent PhD student, Amanda Putri, who graduated from a leading Indonesian University Institute of Technology, Bandung, where she'd been supervised by WIndupranata during her own research work. But in 2014, we both visited Jakarta Bay, and we were visiting fishing villages in areas where WIN had established land surface subsidence and groundwater extraction problems. What we've done is we've developed research relationships that identified that this fishing village, these were resilient communities, and they were already adapting to the collapse of natural resources. They were already marginalised, and the ways in which they were working to improve on that. We found that 50% of them were taking on additional jobs in the household, and even though 70% of them live in informal houses and don't have direct access to clean water, they are working hard to improve those situations. They're challenging, possibly they're typical of coastal megacities elsewhere in the world, and the focus, as they are elsewhere, of massive investments in infrastructure, Herculean efforts in regulation, intensive efforts in scientific research, health and aid investment, and a lot of effort done on spatial planning. Now, Jakarta in 1850 had a population of 70,000. By 1900 it was 115,000, and then it's grown very rapidly so that now more than 10 million people live in Jakarta. It's estimated that Jakarta contributes about 17% of Indonesia's GDP, and so it is the dominant social, political and economic centre for Indonesia. And right in the heart of this megacity are fishing villages. Now, those fishing villages rely on the environments and ecosystems that work, and so there's an essential need for interdisciplinary, multi-stakeholder engagements, because the progress so far in getting desirable social, economic and environmental results has been really uneven, and that these people living in complex and confounding environments are going to be having to work with mess-solutions, ongoing programs of long-term adaptation through negotiation between different people and uses, some of them in conflict with each other. Yet the voices of these fishermen and mussel farmers are rarely heard, and Amanda has brought that voice into the literature. The place where the video was filmed is shown by the red square on this map of Jakarta Bay that also shows the government's water quality sampling sites, the 23 of them, measured for more than 10 years with 12 different parameters. We used that data to develop a pollution index of exposure, and then we matched that with the livelihood and environmental values of 286 households using discussions, stakeholder interviews and oral interviews. The purpose was to get an integration of biophysical and socio-economic knowledge. In brief, water pollution in Jakarta Bay has an impact. It affects traditional fishers, mussel farmers, and even those not directly involved in fishing. People, when they are asked this question, strongly agree with the statement that it affects their occupation and also that it affects the marine organisms. There isn't so much agreement about whether there is a health risk as a result of water pollution in Jakarta Bay. The first part of the paper discussed the research of an Indonesian government-funded PhD student working in an interdisciplinary way to discover how water pollution affects the livelihoods of traditional fishers and mussel farmers, as they are some of the most vulnerable stakeholders in these heavily degraded fishery resources around megacities. The conclusions of the project are 5. And the conclusion on collaborations are much more important. It's important to improve the collaborations that we have. The World Harbour project is a useful way of doing that, where we spend more time together, we share the podiums for the conferences and the research, we share research students, and we work internationally with teams of international researchers. I encourage you to do it, and please share what you know about futures of harbours by completing the survey. You can see the address there on the screen.